Okay, so I wanted to show you real quick how you can use an image from wherever you find an image, the internet, to help you with making something like this. So this is a basketball. It's got the key ring thing on top, and then I went ahead and put some letters on the bottom. Sorry, I teach at City High. Sorry for the West High and Liberty High students. So let's take a look at how you do this. The first thing you're going to need to do is find a picture that you like. Transparent backgrounds are fine. I just found some clip art. The simpler, the better. Don't go crazy. Don't pick a real life picture. Pick something that's been simplified. Clip art. Look for clip art. So you download that. You're going to go to import, and then you're going to find the picture that you downloaded. Okay. When you do that, it's going to upload it, and then you'll see it pop up down here. So I've actually already done it. I've got them both down there. Now, when you go to make your part, first thing you have to do is make your sketch. And then we're going to go to insert image. You get to pick your picture, and then you're going to draw a box. What you're going to want to do here is set the size. So I'm going to say I want this basketball to be 2 inches in each direction. That's up to you how you want to do that, but set that size first, because everything else you're going to do is based off of that. And once you start messing around with it, it gets really, really complicated. So from here, the tool that you're probably going to want to use the most is the spline tool. You can use that for pretty much everything. In this case, since I have a circle, I'm going to start off by using a circle tool. I could use the center point circle. This case, I actually want to use the 3-point circle. What this does is you just click on 3 points around the circle, any 3 points you want, and it will just automatically make a circle that fits those 3 points. So I've got that. Now I noticed, up here I'm a little bit off, so I can actually just I can drag these points around a little bit, get them right where I want them. And we'll be all set. So I've got a circle. At this point, it might not be a bad idea to go ahead and extrude that out at the back to give you something to work with, but I just want to show you how you can trace things. One tool that you're going to want to have access to is this offset tool. What this does is it lets you take a line and make it into something that is, has a thickness. So you can't just extrude a line, but I can extrude something like that. So I've got 2 lines. I can extrude the thickness of that line. What I'm thinking here is I'm going to have a circle, and then I'm going to extrude the lines of the basketball either into the circle or out of the circle to make it look like it's, give it some levels here. Now, for the rest of this thing, I'm going to use the spline tool. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'll go and show you what I did afterwards. So the way the spline tool works is you click on the starting point. You're really going to want to make sure this is all connected. So you see how that line turns orangish? We're really looking for that. Now, the more points you pick, the better this works out. And a lot of people in the past have found it really useful to zoom in a little bit more. And then double click at the end, and it'll end that line. You can go back and adjust your points. After you're done, just hit escape, and you can go in and say, oh, that point was a little bit too high, or that one's a little bit too low. You can play around with the points. Now, keep in mind, something that's going to be 3D printed on the scale we're talking about, you're not going to notice that difference anyway. So keep going. Again, remember that you have to have thickness. You have to have an area to extrude. You can't just extrude a line. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to make this one. You see how that kind of wants to snap. Zooming in is going to help. So you can find the places right along there. The more points you pick, the better it's going to follow your shape. But again, on the scale we're doing, it's going to be just fine to not have a ton. And then when you get to the end again, make sure it's highlighted, double click, and you're good to go. Now, obviously, if you were doing this in real, for real, you'd want to do that for all of them then. But now I can just take these and I can extrude those little areas that I've made. So I want that area, and I want that area. If I was doing these, I'd have to select all the other ones too. And so I obviously don't want to come out that far. Think about how far you want it to be, how thick you want this thing to be. I'm shooting for like 1/4 of an inch thick. So I'm going to have 1/4 of an inch for the back of the basketball, and then I'm going to come out with these lines 1/4 of an inch. Another option would be to make the circle first and cut the shape in. So I'm going to go 0.125 there. Obviously, that's not the whole thing, but what else I could do is I could go ahead and make a sketch on the back of this part. And then I could use this circle here to make a back. Here's another useful tool, the Use tool. If I click on the Use tool and then click on the outside of that circle, that is my sketch now. And what I can do is I can actually just extrude. Oops, did it work? Yeah, it worked. Okay. Oops, sorry. Then I can extrude. Where'd my sketch go? Okay, what's going on here? Okay, so I've got that circle. I want to extrude sketch 2. There we go. I'm not sure why I couldn't select it in the picture, but now I can extrude that the other, say 0.125 if I want to do that, and end up with a shape like this. So now I've got a full circle on the back with my pieces coming out in the front. Another option for how you could have done that is you actually can kind of do this in the other direction. You can make the circle first and then cut into it. That would be an option as well. That's not what I chose to do, but that works. So taking a look back here at what I did after I did that. So I made that sketch, went through and did all the splines, extruded that part out. I made a sketch on the back just to do that circle. And then I extruded the back out. It's that part right there. You saw me do that. Then I made another sketch along the back for the letters and extruded those. That gives you a good example. Like I made letters and I used the remove tool to cut into those. The letters, I'm going to show you how to do the letters here. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to want to do letters of some sort. So if I want to make some letters in the back, or maybe I have a number I want to put in here, I'm going to sketch right on that face, and I'm going to use my my text tool, draw a box. Let's say we're going to make this for Michael. We're going to make a 23 in there. Now make sure it fits on your shape. One thing you can do to make sure is just to drag these points until they highlight on the spot, and then they'll be nice and lined up. Once you've got your sketch done, you can go back and extrude and just kind of click on the sketch and it'll highlight the numbers, and then you can either bring them out or you can remove them by cutting in. Don't cut all the way through, obviously. Pick some sort of distance. I know my thickness is 1/8 of an inch, so I'm going to do 0.125 divided by 2. And that way I'm only going a little ways into the shape. So that'd be how I'd add some sort of a number. And then make sure at the end you add something like a place to put a key ring. So the way I did that was I just, again, made a new sketch right on the front. I again used this Use tool to grab the edge of the circle so I could have access to that. And then I used the Arc tool. And I didn't worry about constraining this in any particular way, but I just made an arc. And then I made another arc inside of it. So it looked about right to me. Oops, I didn't connect that one there. There we go. Now it's connected. So make sure they connect, otherwise it won't work. Extrude it. And then an option that is really good, since that was in the middle, play around with how you extrude. Maybe I want to go symmetric. And I know my whole part is 0.25. So I can do something like that. Other things that you might want to consider adding on just to make things look a little bit nicer is a fillet. If you go around the outside and add fillets to everything, you're going to notice that it just kind of softens everything up. And you're probably going to need to pick a pretty small number. 0.05 might be a good starting place. That looks pretty good. It'll give you a preview if it actually works. But just you can keep adding on whatever you want. Anywhere you see a sharp edge, that's a good idea, is to add those little roundovers. It just makes everything look a little bit nicer, and it's going to end up being a lot more durable anyway. So that's just a quick example of kind of some of the tools you could use for making these keychains or whatever you want to call them. You've seen the example I showed in class. There's another example of what it could look like. But talk to your partner and think about what they want and then go crazy.